Well, first of all, I guess welcome to Stockholm once again.
Thank you.
It's a place you've visited many times before.
Certainly is.
Do you have any memories from previous visits?
Yeah, but we're not going to tell you.
Do you remember the first time here ever?
Bloody hell.
Well, that was the first time we ever came to Europe, wasn't it? We went to Denmark and then we came to Sweden.
Yeah.
1969, just after we'd recorded our first album.
It was very common back then to go to Denmark, I know, for British bands, and Germany especially.
Yeah.
And also Sweden. So it seems like we have a tradition of having British rock musicians here on tour.
It's Copenhagen, wasn't it?
Is it a good crowd here?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been good.
Anyway, the mighty Sabbath is back, I guess, but in a different incarnation than that we've gotten used to over the years now. Once again, it's reunion time, folks, and I guess we've heard that story before with big bands. Reunifications are quite common these days. Weren't you content with the last lineup?
Yeah, I thought the last lineup was good for what we'd done as that band, you know. But when the opportunity came of putting this band back together again, there's no comparison, you know. I mean, it was great because I wanted to work with Geezer again. Anyway, whatever we'd done, doesn't matter whatever name we were under or whatever. I just wanted to, to continue playing with Geezer because we've always been best of friends and great working together.
You left the band and rejoined. Why was that?
Well, I left in, 85, because I just wanted to spend some time with my family. Because I've been constantly touring and recording and everything, and just needed a break, really.
But then what made you want to come back?
I planned to play with Tony again. Felt it was the right time to do it. You know, I'd been at home writing on my own for a few years, and I felt I had something to offer again. And I thought this is the right time to get back.
In many ways, the two of you are actually the core of Black Sabbath.
Yeah, we are.
Without any of you, it would be hard to see the band as Black Sabbath, really.
Yeah, believe me, the years he wasn't with us, it weren't for the want of me calling up trying to get him back.
While you were home chopping woods, or?
Yeah.
He was down with his feet up while we were out there.
Yeah, watching the telly.
There you go. What triggered the idea, though, to reform the second most legendary lineup of Black Sabbath?
Geezer.
No, it's just me and Ronnie met up in America and got up and jammed with him and just had a few beers together and talked about things, and it just seemed we had a really good time. And just talked about all the stuff that split us up before and got that out of the way.
And what was that? I mean, what caused the initial split?
It mainly came from too much touring on the Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. We just didn't have any, because it was so successful, we just didn't have any time out to a break or anything. And sort of all got in each other's way and didn't really talk to each other on the tour, and we just kept getting further and further apart. Or, Ronnie and myself and Tony. Particularly Ronnie was getting further apart from us. And it came to a head when we'd finished the touring. We went in to do the live album and we just couldn't work together anymore.
Now, I heard some nasty stories there around the time of the live album with the two of you being in the studio mixing at night or day, and Ronnie coming in and raising his vocals, and you coming back and raising the bass or whatever.
Well, this is one of the things I talked to Ronnie about when I first saw him, and it's like news to him. He says, where the hell did all this come from? And it was the engineer at the time that we had. This guy was like total alka. It's just like, when we'd leave the studio, he'd get a few more bottles of Jack Daniels down him. And it was obviously him messing about with the controls.
Something of an obvious conclusion to an outsider looking in is that Dio's career was in rapid decline and has been for a few years, and also Sabbath was struggling after a while, and that is the reason that you reformed something that used to be very commercial.
No, that's not the reason. The reason was that we got a lot of I mean, I was settled as far as doing that thing, whatever it would have taken, and but we still wanted to get something together. You know, whatever, if we hadn't have been a Sabbath or whatever, Geezer and myself were planning on doing something together. So it's not a case of because it's obviously grass is greener on the other side. It's not that one. It was a good opportunity to get together because we've still got a lot to offer, and we feel that this lineup and this unit has got a lot to offer.
We'd already started anyhow working together before Ronnie even came back. We were at a place in Wales rehearsing, and Ronnie talked to Tony and just came over and just saw how it was between everyone.
I seem to remember that this idea is not brand new, though. Around the time after the Eternal Idol, I seem to recall that there were talks about trying to work with Ronnie again. Is that right? Or?
There was rumours around then.
Yeah,
that's all it was, rumours.
I never thought actually we'd get together as this lineup again because that seemed furthest away than anything. You know, we never even give it a thought.
Mm-hmm. So, what were the problems you were facing upon recreating an old lineup again?
The problems mainly was just to see if everyone was in the right mood to put it together as a band instead of I think Ronnie desperately needed before to go out and get his own band together. And he'd done that and got that out of his system, and it was just time we all felt like we wanted to be back as a band again.
This decision pretty much forced you to fire Tony Martin and Cozy Powell. How did they take this?
Well, it wasn't a case as that, really. What it was, originally when we first started this lineup, Cozy was involved in it. And we started like rehearsals in England. And then Cozy had a car crash, which put him out of action for 3 weeks or so. And then we went back into rehearsal for a couple of weeks, and he had a horse fall on him.
He died on him, didn't he?
He did die, yeah, and he fell on him.
That's a very bizarre freak accident.
It was, and we couldn't believe it. We thought, bloody hell, you know. He's just had that happen, and here we go again. And that's happened again, and which is just unfortunate, but that's what happened. And it meant that he'd be off, you know, he'd broken his pelvis and that, and we thought, God, he's going to be off for months. And at the same time, the record company are getting in touch with us saying, hey, you know, you've been rehearsing for a while now, when are we going to hear some material? And anyway, it got further on, and we said, well, you know, see how he's going to go and how he's going to cope and how long he's going to be to get better. And it was just, quite honestly, we were being pushed to get some product out. And so it turns out that we had to sort of replace Cozy. But on saying that, it was a situation where Cozy wasn't getting on with Ronnie anyway. Those two are terrible. Didn't get on at all.
No, because I seem to recall a memory of someone telling me that it was actually Ronnie's and Wendy's demand really to get rid of Cozy and replace him with Vinny.
No. I think at first, you know, we could see that it wasn't going to work as that lineup. It just wasn't. And it either meant us not doing anything and all just splitting and going elsewhere, or you know, giving it a try. And when the opportunity of having Vinny came up, it was the ideal set.
It was the one drummer that we all agreed on.
Yeah.
You know, it was the obvious choice, and the question was what was he doing at the time, and we called him up, and he was unhappy with the band that he was in, and he jumped at it. He was on the plane the next day.
So Bill Ward was never a choice?
No.
Do you have any contact with him at all?
Sure, I speak to Bill a lot. Bill's, you know, he's in California doing his own album at the moment. Bill's quite content at the minute.
Returning once again to Tony Martin, who just had to be taken away because otherwise Ronnie couldn't enter the band, really. Another nasty rumor I've heard, I keep on returning to nasty rumors here, but it's good to clarify things, is that you started this project really behind Tony's back.
No, Tony was aware of it. We told Tony, and Tony was aware what was going on. Maybe not originally, he wasn't, but he was aware fairly shortly after we decided that we were going to get this together.
Because in my mind, this is a guy that really gave his all for Black Sabbath. I mean,
he did. And, there's no knocking him. He's a great vocalist. But I think Tony will agree that, he felt a little shaded by being in Black Sabbath because if it was under any other name, I think he would have felt a little bit different. But the demand on him was so great to get more involved with the audience and get more things going, that it was a little difficult for him because he wasn't a Ronnie and he wasn't an Aussie.
And he lacked a bit of charisma.
He did, yeah, he did. And I mean, he did say that himself. I mean, I did talk to him at my house, and he said that himself. He said, well, I understand, and he was absolutely great. And we still get on with him and talk to him.
So
but he's doing his own thing.
At the end, it was an amicable split.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's very good. The interesting thing here really is that there was quite a intense slagging war going on between Sabbath and Ronnie. A lot of things came from Ronnie after he left the band. And now it seems like you have forgotten all this. And are you the best of friends now all of a sudden?
We didn't forget it. We had a good talk about it after when we decided to get back together again. And
a lot of it was made up by the press.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd come in saying, how did you get on with Little Hitler and all this sort of thing? We go,
Yes,
oh, well, and, then it'd come out that we called him Little Hitler and some, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the press loved to
But there was some
make
substance.
for a better story.
There was some
There
substance.
was a
in it,
lot of
too.
substance in, a lot of it.
Because I mean, I spoke to Ronnie myself, and I spoke to you, and
Yeah.
and there was some bitterness and
sure.
some hatred.
I mean, that's
Sure.
when I went to see him in America. I didn't know. It was with trepidation that I went down to see him. I didn't know whether he had a hitman waiting for me or what. And when I seen him and he put his arms around me, and it was just great. It was,
So once you met
kissed.
on
And he stabbed him.
once you met on neutral ground, so to speak, was it easy then to become creative partners and bury the hatch?
Well, at first, we had to sort of decide. You had to meet up after talking on the phone for a couple of hours. When he did come to England to start work and start trying the thing to see if it was going to work, there was at first a bit of. We had to find out, see whether we were in the same musical direction, and see. We had to drop all the egos that would have cropped up over the 10 years, purely because Ronnie's had his own band for 10 years, and he's had the say in his own band for 10 years, and the same as Geezer and myself. We've had the say in our lives of what we're going to do. So when it came to a point where we had to all be together and work as a band, we had to get that out of the way. That's this is the only way it can work, is we work as a band. And as soon as that was done, it was great. We went along and we could talk to each other openly. And that's one thing we lacked before when we were together with the lineup before. We couldn't, as in 1980, 81, we couldn't communicate as well as we can now.
Right. So you mean you're getting more mature?
Probably.
How did you look at Ronnie's career after Black Sabbath? Did you enjoy any of the stuff he did?
I never heard any of his stuff. Didn't take any notice whatsoever.
I liked. I listened to the first album he'd done. I didn't follow his career like, I'd follow my own, but I did listen to some of the stuff he'd done.
Do you think Dehumanizer is Heaven and Hell Part 3?
No.
Well, the reason why I asked you that was that that's exactly what you said, that a third album with Ronnie would be if you had carried on.
No, whatever we said or whatever. When it came to the time of us talking about what we want, we actually did say we didn't want to run on the success of doing another Heaven and Hell or Mob Rules. They were that time, 10 years ago. And we said we wanted to make a heavy album and make it really, really powerful.
I think Dehumanizer is probably the heaviest album Black Sabbath has done in a long, long time. Parts of it, After All, for instance, is even reminiscent of the very early days of Sabbath. I mean, the song Black Sabbath, even.
Yeah.
The extremely heavy part is back, which has been lacking for a while.
Oh, it has, definitely. There's no two ways about that. And a major part of that is Geezer and myself working together again. because the sound of the two of us together makes that wall of sound, and of course the writing abilities of each other. We can bounce off each other great with riff-wise, and then when Ronnie puts his part to it, and then Vinny, it sort of makes it that sound.
It's even reminiscent of parts of Born Again at points, I think, which to me is... I know a lot of people don't like that album. I love it. I think Born Again was a very good record. It sounded awful.
Well, that was the major thing with that album. It sounded absolute
we
crap.
loved it in the studio, and then when we got the test pressing, we just
It
couldn't
was
believe
awful.
what happened to it.
Yeah, very strange, but the songs were good, and despite the controversy around having Ian Gillan in the band, I do think it was a solid and good record.
Yeah, I think we had some good stuff there. It's just unfortunate that we couldn't, have the time to control it as far as onto the record,
How did you approach Dehumanizer musically this time?
Well, we all, from the beginning, we just says we want to make a heavier album, and we do the Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules. We were all 100% agreed on that, and sat down with Ronnie, and he agreed that there's not going to be any dragons and wishing wells and rainbows and everything else, and to have a more realistic approach in the lyrics and hard-hitting lyrics to go with the hard-hitting riffs and stuff.
Yeah. You have over the years been very much involved in the lyrical part of Black Sabbath. Are you once again taking part in the
two of the tracks? Yeah.
Yeah. Which ones?
Computer God and Master of Insanity.
Yeah, I could have definitely felt that. But TV Crimes, which is the first single of the record, that has a very un-Sabbath-like lyric, great lyrics. I mean, with the nursery rhymes and everything, and it's a fun, good game with words in a way. I appreciate that. How was the initial feeling when you first met and started to rehearse together?
It was a bit polite at first. I mean, we were coming out with stuff, but none of us would say, well, that's not very good, is it? And after about 3 or 4 months, we just sat down, we all went, this isn't very good, is it? We've either got to really make it work and be honest with each other, or we may as well just stop now. And we all sat down and we were blatantly honest with each other why it wasn't working. And after that...
Well, to be perfectly honest, Geezer got pissed one night and said, that number sounds just crap. That's really what happened. And so it made us sort of really think, bloody hell, everybody knew it, but nobody'd say anything, we didn't like it. So we started off from that day.
Bells went off in my head and I thought, it's happening again. Nobody's talking about the stuff. We're building it all up. Nobody likes the stuff, but nobody's saying that we don't like it. We're just like hoping something more good will come out.
Everybody was afraid to step on each other's toes.
Yeah, exactly. So, we just sat down and we just had a really good, honest talk to each other, and just says, like, we have to come out with, like, stuff that's up to Heaven and Hell standard, or just forget it. And from then on, we did.
Undeniably, this lineup had a magic that I can understand that you wanted to revive. Is there any way of explaining that magic?
It's a combination of that team. It's hard to explain a magic or whatever it's got, but we felt that as well. We had something, even when we first put this lineup together, after Ozzy, we felt that thing then, that spark on the Heaven and Hell album, and the same Mob Rules. It existed, and it is a certain combination that makes us musically harmonic.
Was a recreation of the original lineup with Ozzy ever being contemplated at this point?
Well, there's always been rumours of it going around, as there is. But who knows? Nobody thought we'd get together with Ronnie. It's just one of those things. You just never know. We never. I think we've gone too many days now to start saying, well, this will never happen or that will never happen. We just play it as it goes now.
Right. Would you say it's a blessing as well as a curse to carry on in a band that has reached a legendary status in its first lineup?
For me,
I think Heaven and Hell, like, everybody wrote us off after Ozzy'd gone. We felt that we could still do the music, but Ozzy just didn't feel like that who was really involved in it, and he didn't want to do his part in it. So everybody sort of, when we got together with Ronnie, initially on the Heaven and Hell thing, everybody just written us off then. And I think the feeling that we got when that was such a massive success, the Heaven and Hell thing, it just like gave us the confidence to carry on, and you know, it took all the pressures of I think from that. We knew that we don't really think about the legendary status or anything like that, you know, just...
it's basically something that outsiders are looking at and going, oh yes, paranoid, yes. War pigs, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was a challenge for us as well when we had Ronnie at first, after Ozzy, to make us, you know, just instead of following the thing that we're supposed to do and, you know, try and stick together with Ozzy at that time, we had, you know, we because of the record companies or everybody else wants it, we had to do what we felt was right, and when we had Ronnie, we had to work again to make that successful, which we did, and you know, the feeling is there still now. We you know, we're not just putting this album together and going to sit back and go, oh well, that's it now. You know, we want to work with it, and the band is a great lineup, and it's a classic lineup, and it's musically it's brilliant. So you know, we need to get out and play and prove that we're.
Black Sabbath has gone through numerous of lineup changes over the years since Ozzy left the band. This one being the most successful of them. Can you admit to certain mistakes that you've done over the years here with the lineups?
Oh, there's been ups and downs for sure, yeah. But certain things have come on, you know, without you even realising it at the time. You know, as we were talking earlier about Glenn Hughes. I mean, when we done that album, Seventh Star, it wasn't supposed to be in a Black Sabbath album, and it was since that caused all the problems. Since that first Seventh Star album, that did cause the problems because record company wouldn't. If they had the choice against a Tony Iommi album or a Black Sabbath album, they'd want a Black Sabbath album.
But did you want that album to be a Tony Iommi album?
It was made as a Tony Iommi album.
Oh, because that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, it was made as that, and Glenn Hughes wasn't going to be the only vocalist on it. There was going to be different people on it, and it turned out that Glenn, you know, was singing really good, and then it was made. And then, of course, the next thing is that, I mean, you have to understand that, you know, you're in control to an extent. But if the record company say, well, we're owed a Black Sabbath album, and we're going to take this one, then, you know, you don't have a lot of control over it. As much as you go, you can't have it.
But it did create an identity
crisis.
And
that caused the problem from that day on, you know.
Yeah.
Because then it was doubted as a Black Sabbath album. Then we started touring with Glenn, which didn't last 5 minutes because, you know, obviously the well-known problem with Glenn.
5 dates? 4 or 5 days?
It wasn't long, yeah. Okay. And of course, then we had commitments to carry on a tour. So I had to bring another singer in, which was Ray Gillan.
Yes, and then another one.
Yeah, and that's how that problem first cropped up, you know. It wasn't anything that was planned or whatever, it just happened, and we had to make, you know, had to carry on.
Was this frustrating times? You saw Black Sabbath declining in popularity?
It was terrible because it was something I really didn't want to happen, and because of the things that did happen, made it very difficult to you know, to work under that circumstances. But you know, it's a case of having to.
Personally, as I said before, I love the Born Again album with Ian. How do you look back at that lineup and the move to bring in another, in his own right, a legendary and competitive vocalist, or a vocalist from a competitive band?
Very, very difficult for him to step into, because he was with Deep Purple and they were quite a name themselves, to come in to do Black Sabbath stuff. And it was difficult for us to have Ian under the Sabbath banner, you know.
Well, that again started off, that wasn't supposed to be a Black Sabbath album.
Yeah.
Not Born Again either?
No, that was supposed to be like Gil and Iommi, Butler and...
That's right.
Ward. It was just like a different name. And that's the way we started out. And
so was it almost like Black Sabbath was breaking up at that point?
Yeah,
to start something totally new?
Sabbath finished when Ronnie left. That was it for me. I didn't want any more Black Sabbaths. And with the Gillan thing, we agreed to that, like him coming in as a different band. And of course, the same thing happened. We'd finished the album, gave it to the record company, and they went, It's just one small point. You owe us another album. And it's like,
You see, that's the thing
Black
we've been
Sabbath
over
again.
all the time, has been that one point that a lot of people don't realise. They go, oh, you're carrying on with the name, you're carrying on this. You know, you do have commitments to do, and much as you might try and get out of them, they change.
And they're very good at talking you round to their ways as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean,
we
you
won't
know,
release the album.
None of us were happy about going out as Sabbath with Gillan. None of us.
No, even Ian wasn't happy about it.
Although I think you managed to make a good record and a couple of really good gigs as well. So.
We thought the record would have been good. The sound was atrocious, but
I know Ian hated it. He tells me that he threw it in the wall and just refused to listen to it.
We all hated it, but that was out of our hands again. That went from, we had an engineer in that when it goes from that process from recording it, it goes into then it's got to be pressed and manufactured and God knows what else. And we were on tour then when that was happening. So the first we heard of it, it was number 3 in the charts. And we were in Europe touring, and we got back and bloody hell, we heard the thing and we couldn't believe it. We were just so shocked. You know, it's just like terrible.
Exactly. Well, with the reformation of this band now, it seems everybody has regained the interest in Black Sabbath again, which is a natural course when something like this happens. You're about to play Donington, if I'm not
No, we're not doing that. We're doing Monsters of Rock in Europe. Mannheim.
Okay, my mistake. You're about to do Monsters of Rock in.
Yeah.
And that's something Black Sabbath wouldn't really have done 2 years ago.
Probably not, no.
Does it feel good now to once again be in the public eye?
It feels good to be back together, you know, for us to have a chance to, you know, we've made a great album, and for us, particularly Geezer and myself, as I said, we were going to do something anyway, so it feels good to be able to get out and play again.
Have you any plans for a tour of your own after the Monsters thing?
Oh, we start in Brazil at the end of the month. We do 2 weeks in Brazil, then we do America for 3 weeks. Then we come back to Europe, do the Monsters of Rock in Germany. Then Europe and Britain in September, and then back to America.
So you're going to be pretty busy, I guess.
Yeah, pretty knackered as well.
It's going to be busy, yeah.
There we go.
But it's good, you know, that's what it's all about. We have to, you know, we've done an album, and we're very pleased with the album. We're very pleased that way Ronnie's sang on the album and everybody's played on the album.
What are your personal highlights on the album?
Well, it's going from one to another at the moment. We haven't lived with it long enough yet. But, you know, I like the same as you after all, and you know, there's a lot of tracks I like, and I haven't picked on a favourite.